Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with a Viego basic guide. Now Viego is perhaps one of the most unique champions in the game, a very strong carry jungler who has the ability to possess other champions and use their basic abilities. So very unique champion in terms of that stealing mechanic. But now let's head over into the practice tool where we can talk more about his skills. Okay, so now moving into the skills section of the video, I'm actually going to be talking about his passive last because I think that's the most complicated part of Viego to explain. So I'm going to actually explain like everything else first, and then I'm going to talk about his passive at the very end. And his kit is honestly pretty overloaded, so there's kind of a lot of things to explain when it comes to his skills and abilities. So let's get straight into it without wasting any time. So first off, let's start off with his Q. Right, so his Q does current HP on hit damage, right? It's called Blade of the Rune King, right? So it kind of takes the passive of the Blade of the Rune King. So passively, it gives you attacks deal physical damage equal to 6% of the target's current health. So you do get, like, basically when you basic attack, you can see that you will deal, you can see that my basic attacks are doing reduced damage because that is because it of course is based on the person's current health damage, and the more damage I do to the person, the less current health damage they have. So of course that means that I'm going to be doing less damage to them, same as with Blade of the Rune King. So its active is basically where you do a short stab forward like this, right? And this stab is actually AoE. So if you have multiple enemies here, let's just kind of show that. If you have two enemies here, the stab is going to deal damage to them both, right? And then it has another passive portion where if you see, when you stab them, you see that green glow there. That's the second portion. So when you do that and when you auto attack them, it's going to do a double auto attack like this, right? So that's why you stack Conqueror very quickly, because you basically Q and then you auto and then you have 3 stacks of Conqueror already, right? So I'm going to demonstrate that once again. Once again, you Q, you auto, it's going to deal a double attack. You auto, it's going to deal a double attack, and that's unique to different enemies, right? So you can see just with that Q and auto, I'm already at 5 stacks of Conqueror. So that is going to apply on all of your abilities. So it also applies on your W, also applies on your alt. We'll show it later on. So speaking of your W, what exactly is your W? Your W is basically, if you can see here, let's put ourselves to 0 CD. It's just a short dash. So you can tap it to short dash and it's going to stun, right? It's only going to stun the first target. So for example, over here, if I do this, it's only going to stun the first guy. It's not going to be able to hit the guy at the back. So if I want to do that, I have to come in from a different angle. But you can press and hold to actually increase the range of your stun. So if you see there's two indicators, the first one is where you will dash to, the second one is where the stun is actually going to be launched. And while you're charging, you are actually slow, so just do take note of that. Like if you're running away, you don't want to be charging this. If you're running away from this guy, for example, you probably want to be doing this and then you run away or something like that. Or maybe you don't even want to be using that ability when you want to run away, or maybe you dash forward like this to run away. It's probably a better idea. You don't want to be holding it and trying to run away because you're going to slow yourself down. So once again, this does apply the Q passive on, so you will get the double auto. However, something you don't get is you can't dash over walls. So if I do this, you can see I can launch my stun thingy over the wall, right? But I can't actually get my body over the wall with that. So next up is your E. So your E is basically, you're going to put down this, what I can only describe as a green puddle. And inside this green pile, you'll be stealth, of course, within a certain zone. If you get near the enemies, they are going to see you. So if you get too close, like Evelyn, you will be revealed. And while you're inside this E, you will get bonus movement speed. You can see that here I'm walking slow, but here I'm a lot faster. And also while you're inside, you get bonus attack speed. So you can see I'm attacking real quickly here, but when it fades off, I'm going to get way less attack speed. So it does get you those benefits. And if you hit a wall, it's going to spread throughout the entire wall, like slowly, right? But it is going to spread. It is going to keep on spreading. I guess there's a limit to these massive walls, but it is going to spread. So you hit it around the tower, it's going to spread around the tower. If you hit it around basically any wall, right, we gotta have to wait for it to fade off, right? If you hit it around any wall, it's gonna go around the entire wall like this, right? So it's gonna spread into a large area. And finally, you're gonna talk about the ulti. So your ulti is, you can see it's targeted like this, and there's two areas. Firstly, it is gonna be a dash, and you can get over the wall with it. And during this time, you are unstoppable, as you can see there. So what it basically does is it does missing HP damage. So it does missing HP damage, and it knocks people who have, it basically keeps the person with missing HP, and it knocks everybody else away. So for example, I'm gonna attack this guy, so he has lower HP than his friend. So I'm gonna now ult. You can see that this pushes. Actually, wait, it's not so obvious like that. Let me just try it again. Okay, maybe I need somewhere that's not against a wall so that it's a little bit more obvious. But let's spawn some more dummies here. And let's also enable the bot because we're going to need this bot later. So let's damage this guy. So you can see if I ult, it's going to push the other dummy away, right? So this isolates this target for you to go ahead and kill, because you do want to get a kill so that you can proc your passive. So let's disable the bot so he's basically vulnerable here. Actually, we kind of want him to come out a little bit. But basically, I'm going to explain what your ultimate does, right? So your ultimate is pretty straightforward. Basically, what it does is, it is not straightforward at all, right? I lied. Basically, when you get a kill, you're going to get a soul on the ground, and when you possess that soul, you are going to get a few benefits. Firstly, when you're possessing the soul, you're untargetable. Secondly, it's going to reset your ultimate. And also it's going to give you movement speed towards champions, and it's also going to give you healing based off of the max health, and yeah, a lot of benefits, right? And also you possess them and you gain their ability. So here you can see the Z is basically disabled. So here I'm going to take a little bit of damage so you guys can see the healing from the ultimate. So let's go ahead and kill this guy. So you see when I kill him, he basically becomes this soul. It lasts 8 seconds, and this button here allows you to possess him. So when you possess him like this, you can see you're untargetable for a second, and you actually heal, and then you get a reset of your ulti, and at the same time, you get his basic ability. So of course, you kind of do need to know how to play the champions, and when you're about to run out of it, you will see that green color-ish screen, and you do get the ulti reset. So if you did use your ulti initially, you will still have your ulti up here, so you will be able to get that. So once again, to recap, during the possession, you're untargetable. You get a reset on your ulti. When you're in the other champion, you get bonus movement speed towards champions. You heal based off of their max health. So when you possess them, based on how much max health they have, you're going to heal for that amount, a percentage of that amount. So if you possess tanks, you're going to heal more than you possess squishies, and of course you also gain their active abilities. So now with that covered, we can finally move on to talking about the leveling order. So at level 1, you want to take Q. Of course, you're going to be clearing the jungle because Viego is a jungler. And on level 2, oops, wrong button. On level 2, you can either take W or E. The difference is very, very minimal in terms of taking your W or E, right? The clear speed is difference of 1 or 2 seconds. I believe E is the one that is slightly faster. And then, of course, you take the one you didn't take on the next, on level 3. So you want to max your Q first, and of course take out when available. Interestingly, you want to actually max your E second, because the benefits you get from maxing your E in terms of the movement speed, attack speed, and the cooldown reduction is way better than W, because W is just a straight up damage increase. So maxing your E next is actually the most logical move, and then you want to max, of course, your W last, taking out whenever available. So now we're going to talk about some combos. Now the combos on Viego is actually very straightforward, because as a champion itself, his abilities are not complicated, but he's made complicated based on the fact that you actually need to know how to play other champions when you possess them. So let's actually just hit straight over here. Let's give ourselves 0 CD again. So the most basic combo, of course, is when you're coming in for a gank, right? Imagine like I'm coming in for a gank. I pop my E onto the nearest wall for the movement speed, and then I charge my W, come out, stun the guy, and then Q, and then double auto, something like that, right? So there's the most basic combo. You E into W into Q. Of course, the even more basic combo than that is you simply just W auto into Q auto. Of course, you want to make sure to auto in between your abilities. So you don't want to W Q, because that's going to lose out on a lot of damage. You want to W auto to prompt the Q passive, Q, and then auto again to prompt the double hit passive. So the other way is, if you don't actually need your E to gank, right? What you can actually do is you can come into the W, you W them, auto Q, and then you pop the mist, and then you just start auto attacking with that bonus attack speed that you have. And then of course you want to R at the very end of your combo, because of course, as I said, it does missing health damage, so you want to do as much damage as possible, and then you ult at the very end to finish off the kill. Right, now the only other kind of combo you have is if you need to get over a wall. Now imagine if I'm stuck behind this wall, and then I might need to ult over first, auto, and then start off the rest on my combo there, something like this, right? So now with that said, we can move on to talking about some Viego tips and tricks. So the first kind of trick that I have for you guys is that you can actually do W flash, right? So what I mean by that is, for example, this guy is out of my range. I can W and then flash forward. That was not a good example. Um, or can you not do it, right? You can do it in PC, that's for sure, but I guess in Wild Rift you can't do it. I haven't actually done this in a real game because I normally just do a W straight to their face, but I'm not sure why it's not working. Oh, there we go. Apparently your timing has to be kind of very, very exact. It has to be very, very exact. So I don't recommend doing this unless you've practiced it. It's sort of like the Jarvan QE flash kind of thing, where the timing has to be very exact. But yeah, so I think it has to be very, very quick, right? Yeah, it has to be very quick. So if you take too long to do it, like this, it's not gonna work, right? But if you do it at the very, very start, as you can see, I failed there again. It does, well, I'm not doing a very good demo of it, but it does actually work. You guys saw just now that it did, but you can see I'm having a lot of trouble actually making it work, so probably you don't want to actually try it. The next kind of tip I have for you guys is, I'm not going to demonstrate it, but you want to almost always take the possession, right? Even if you don't know how to play the enemy champion, you do want to take the possession because it's going to give you untargetability, which will help you dodge a lot of abilities. It's going to give you that R reset, and you're going to actually heal. So most of the time you do want to take the possession. Now the only kind of niche scenarios you don't want to take it is where you have too many souls to possess because your team has been killing a lot of people, or like you need to actually stay in your base form to get the next kill, because if you waste time possessing, the guy is going to run away, something like that. So those are the only few instances you don't want to possess, but you normally do want to get the possession. Now the last thing I want to kind of cover is your jungle clear, right? You don't want to E onto a wall. This is especially relevant for the Raptor pit, because normally what you do is you will clear blue into Grom and then into wolves, and then you're going to transition over to the Raptors. And by this point in time, you're going to have your E, right? What you don't want to do is you don't want to pop your E over here and then start clearing the Raptors. Why? Because the mid lane guy can see it, right? He can see the E. He knows exactly where you are. That's giving information to the entire enemy team on where you are. So what I normally do is when I come over, I normally will make sure I manual target my E like this, right? So that it does not go over all the way around this wall. Right now, the alternative to this is, instead of doing that, you can actually, let's reset the Raptors. You can actually aggro the Raptors like this, and then you put it onto this wall. So you can basically start doing the Raptors this way, like this. And if you do it fast enough, you can even get to your red, which is very unlikely, but you can even do that, right? So that's pretty much it for the Viego basic guide. Of course, stay tuned for a complete guide on Viego coming out tomorrow. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video, guys, and goodbye.